Hey YouTube, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yeah, as you can see, I'm under my engine hood here on the Civic, and I thought I'd make a video and join in on all the fun reviewing or just discussing the Cybertruck, Tesla's Cybertruck. There's a lot of hype, as you know, probably seen news feeds and everything's trending it. And yeah, just wanted to do a quick doodle and talk about that truck, some of the ideas, some of the things that I've been hearing on the other YouTube channels. I was watching Farzad's and quick review on how the truck is being received by the enthusiasts and reviewers like Top Gear and Haggerty and whatnot. And yeah, I hate to break it to that guy. Those positive reviews, for the most part, they do reviews, and typically they always focus on the positives. Have you guys ever noticed that most of the YouTube videos that review cars, except for Savage Geese and there's another YouTuber that actually pokes fun at the industry, how they, kowtow and just sort of pander to the hype and, giving positive reviews so that they get invited back to the events and whatnot, right? And I agree, that's fine, and that's what they do, and there's a time and place for that. And but the thing is, I mean, it just gives us, everyone a false sense of, product supreme, what do you say, how you say that, too much positives, I guess, and not enough real criticism. Real criticism, and they gloss over the negatives, and that's too bad. It does a disservice. But the Cybertruck, what I remember it is just a trapezoid. That's what people call it, right? And there's a triangle there, triangle, and then a cut right there, and you got the bed in the back, right? Everything is just hard edged, and it's stainless steel. The doors, everything is stainless steel. The car is over 6,000 pounds. The battery is 1,000 plus pounds easily. I think it's 1,200 starting, and if you get the extended battery pack, probably adds a few hundred pounds on their already heavy 1,200 pounds battery. And what is going on? Is that it sounds like a demonstration or a exercise in stupidity. Sorry, to be so harsh. I'm a Honda driver, right? So obviously I'm not going to be buying a Tesla or a Tesla Cybertruck anytime soon. Not even the Model 3. The Model 3 is about 800 pounds heavier than this, 800, maybe about 900 pounds heavier than the Civic. It's about 600 pounds heavier than the CRV. And you guys know that the Model 3 is a small car. It's a small car, probably the same, maybe slightly larger in interior space compared to, let's say, the Civic, because it doesn't have the motor in the front, and it's cab forward, and the design is nice, spacious, but it's about the same size as a Civic, yet it's heavier than the CRV. Not a lot of people consider that. Why? Because the Model 3's battery is about 800 pounds. Depending on which model you get, obviously, right? The battery, typically is on the bottom, so it's great. low center of gravity, right? That battery is heavy as, AF. Let's get into a little bit of the criticism of, electric cars. It really is a practice in is silliness. To be harsh, stupidity, because you're driving around carrying a full load all the time. 1,200 pounds. This Cybertruck is over 6,000 pounds, and and even dumber is that it's like a knife, right? Sharp edges, heavy, going. It could go 0 to 60. The monster one. What's it called again? The top model goes 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds. Now that is a weapon. What do you think will happen if that thing slams into something, right? Not even considering that a small car like the Model 3 is 4,000 pounds, right? It's just crazy. I really don't want to imagine what will happen when this thing does slam into something, right? The battery, you guys, not everyone knows, and that battery is gonna fail eventually, whether it be 5 years, the more heavily you charge it in fast charge mode, the faster it'll run out of charge cycles. 10 years? Even 10 years. That battery, that 1,200 pound battery full of toxic lithium, cobalt, all these metals, till this day, they don't know what to do with these batteries. The actual recycling program that they would like to impose is, number one, difficult, time-consuming, and highly toxic. If these batteries don't get recycled and they go into landfills, and then eventually the toxic materials will run off into the waters. And, have you ever wondered why I don't eat fish? Right? What happens to the fishies, and the oceans, right? And to begin with, this battery takes so much resources to make. Same thing with solar panels, solar panels take a lot of resources to make. Electricity, burning of oil to make electricity to make all these materials. We got hydro. Hydro is probably one of the cleanest. Hydro, wind, solar, and then of course coal and burning of natural gas. These are some of the main things that we do. Hydro, there's going to be only limited amount of hydro electricity power. Certain areas do have it, but not everywhere has hydro. Wind, solar, these two resort to burning diesel and NG, natural gas, to power those farms when there's no wind or when it's, cloudy. Yeah. So, and, that's something of a consideration, really. A lot of the American and European countries burn coal and natural gas to make electricity in order to charge these things. Think about that. And these things carry around a ton of batteries everywhere they go. You know, gas cars. I mean, they, you know, like this one I'm drawing on top of, has a, what is it? A tank that is probably, I think the Civic probably has a, is it a 45-liter tank? 45 liters full will give you, 45-liter tank will give you, kilometers wise, it would probably give you about, let's say 500 to 600 kilometers mixed highway and highway and city driving, right? 45 liters of fuel will give you that, right? 45 liters. How many pounds is that? 1 liter. Let's say 1 liter is a few pounds. You know, maximum will be 90 pounds, right? 90 pounds. Compare that to 1200 or compare that to 800. It's a fraction, right? You know, it's crazy. And you know, for when it comes to recycling of a new, you know, let's say if this car that I'm drawing on, right? You got plastic, metal, metal, aluminum, iron, you know, the glass, you know, all those things are easily recycled. And obviously when you recycle the car, you know, whenever, you know, in 20 years, 30 years, you know, the fuel and oil gets, the fuel gets used, right? And as far as oil is concerned, it just, you know, you recycle the oil. You know, safely dispose of it anyway, right? But these cars, what we can do with the batteries, right? It just doesn't make sense. You know, I get it. You know, these electric cars are cool and new, and you know, keeping up with the Joneses, and everyone is excited about it, changing the industry. But I truly think that it's only a stopgap, right? If you guys remember, we had those brick phones, right, of yesteryears. Literally, it's a brick with a handle on it, right? It's a brick. Sorry, I'm not drawing it nicely, but it's a huge brick phone. And you got the number pads in here and the small screen up here. And then, you know, we graduated to the flip phone. You know, the StarTax and, you know, the StarTax and, you know, the flip phones, Nokias. So we had the Nokias as well. A little screen, bunch of buttons, right? And then now we have the iPhone. You know, the iPhone came along. Well, the BlackBerry was in here somewhere, but anyways, really the iPhone, the button there. You know, we got the screen, curved edges, lightning cable, right? Then the iPhone came along, and we're there right now. This is, what do you call, I guess maybe we can call it the Model T. Ford Model T. And then this is an example of, you know, more the classic cars. And then we've got the, somewhere here, we've got the present day car. And then what's next, right? What's next? I truly think that what's next is not electric. You know, it's gonna progress to something else, right? The electric car is sort of like the flip phone. I mean, it was good while it lasted. It's way better than what we had back in the day when we had the brick phones, but something better will come along. It certainly will. And it's not going to be 1,200 pounds of battery. Carrying 1,200 pounds of battery everywhere you go, uh, is that not? Does that sound counterintuitive? How much is 1,200 pounds? Think about that. 1,200 pounds. Let's say 10 adults. Well, okay, uh, 8 adults. Think about that. 8 adults in the car all the time. That's nuts, right? 8 grown adults inside your car all the time. That's how heavy that battery is. And you guys charge, obviously I think progression is good, but it has to stop. It just doesn't make sense. The hybrid cars, hybrid's probably the way to go. Things like the RAV4 hybrid, plug-in hybrid, HE, and HEVs. These cars can go the range we're talking about. What is it? 50 miles, or 60 kilometers, 70 kilometers or so. All plug-in power, and then let's not talk about the regular hybrids. Plug-in hybrids, average is going to be 50 miles range. Most people can, that's enough, right? And then you plug into your home charger, whether you have the level 1 or whatever it may be, I believe 8 hours or 9 hours, 10 hours, you're fully charged. For the Cybertruck and the Model 3, Model S, whatever, those cars, you would have to upgrade your electricity. Go to a supercharger in order to fully charge in quickly, right? And the problem is, just like the cell phone, right? When you guys charge too much, when you guys charge with high-speed charging and the battery gets hot, it actually degrades the battery, degrades the ability for the battery to, it's a longevity basically, right? So, for the ones that know how I am with cars, and I like to troubleshoot it and make sure that I do the right things, change the oil properly and put in the right type of gas, disable the stop start to mitigate certain issues that we have with this engine here, right? How would you mitigate not charging and hurting the battery, right? If the only way you can get your range is to constantly charge it at high speed, heat up the battery and rinse and repeat every day, right? Do you guys need, some do, not discounting that, but do you guys need 400 miles of range, right? Always carrying around that 1,200 pound, 1,000 pound battery, 400 miles of range. That's a lot. You can drive, you could drive on the highway for 4 or 5 hours, right? How often do you do that? And then when you do need that, that's great. You have the range, but then doesn't it just make sense to get a plug-in hybrid, where the plug-in hybrid battery is a fraction of the size of the full size EVs, and as is, the amount of lithium it takes to make a full electric car is X amount of lithium, and it makes up a 1,200 pound battery. Just consider that the plug-in hybrids take way less, given that it does have a regular engine, internal combustion engine in there. Yes, it does. So there's an extra layer of thing to maintain and lug around, right? But then the argument is really the battery. You no longer need a 1,200-pound battery that is intensive to mine the lithium, cobalt, um, uh, uh, nickel, cadmium, all those quote unquote precious metals, right? Not precious metals, but rare earth minerals, right? So yeah, that's my bit of a rant on that, and yeah, I'll put a link to Farzad's a review or a comment on so far how the Cybertruck has won already. Uh, other other than the fact that the Cybertruck looks like ridiculous, but I mean, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, sure. Farzad actually went as far as saying that that looks good. While the Toyota Corolla, he says, is butt ugly, and a lot of people buy it. Why would people buy a butt ugly, basically an ugly car? The latest Toyota Corolla, while is not is not a supermodel car, it's certainly pleasing to look at, right? I mean, it's fine. I it's not ugly for sure. But anyway, yeah. Anyways, I digress. The stainless steel is another issue, right? Just imagine how expensive it will be to fix if anything happens. That I mean, a dent. Obviously, you look at the Cybertruck, it doesn't even look like it has any bumpers, right? It's just metal. Correct me if I'm wrong, but man, that's gonna hurt when you hit a barrier or something, right? Even going off road, you would get it scratched or whatever it may be. You would think that it's gonna be durable, but I can't wait to see what it will look like after 6 months of ownership, and we're talking about expensive a car too, right? Yeah. Tell me what you guys think. This is the I don't usually do this type of video, so bear with me. But yeah, feel free to comment and like, dislike, and I'll talk to you guys soon. My next video is gonna be on the blow by. So let's say under this engine, I will go through the piston, rings, oil ring, and basically how in the combustion chamber, how the oil is passing, or how the fuel is passing into the crankcase, right? And the idea behind why I'm turning off the auto stop start, right? Turn it off. Very important. So stay tuned for that. And I'll give you a bit of a spoiler. It is because when the auto stop start happens, right? You got 4 cylinders. So the other cylinders are going to be in different positions. 1, 2, 3, and let's say this is 4, right? 4 and 1 is going to be in the same position. 2 and 3 is going to be in the opposite position, which is So on its compression stroke, when it goes up, obviously it goes up, and then fuel mixture gets gets sprayed with a high pressure fuel pump, gets sprayed into the combustion chamber. The valves open to have air come in, and then it gets compressed. And imagine what happens when you actually have the stop right there. It stops. you have compressed fuel in here, right? I realize that Honda and, you know, all the ICE vehicle manufacturers right now, they probably have a certain way to mitigate this, right? But imagine how many times the auto stop start actually activates, right? During a drive cycle. You know, let's say your commute is an hour, half an hour, whatever it may be, right? Just count next time. How many times? 50? On and off? If you're on a highway, less, but if you're in city, how many times did it go on and off in a day or in one drive cycle, right? Just think about that. And when out of the 50, 1 or 2 or 3 of them, these cylinders, especially because you have 4 of them, it will be in a site. It'll the ignition will actually turn off. That's how the this works, right? The ignition, the spark plug actually gets told to be turned off, right? And yes, the fuel pump or the high pressure fuel pump and the injectors are supposed to stop as well, but then the car can't. It is not as if it's AI. It doesn't know when to stop injecting or spark and injection. It can't foresee when it needs to stop, so therefore it does. And there's a certain PSI that the injectors inject. I'll go through that later. And also the compression ratio along with the turbo pushes air into the combustion chamber, as well as the actual compression ratio. That's how much pressure this is going to be compressing. And engines typically, range from 150 psi, 200 psi, around there. Let's say 200 psi, right? Including all the high pressure stuff and turbo, whatever it has pressure already. So you have 200 psi worth of air fuel mixture compressed in here, right? And the engine gets stopped mid-cycle, goes up to the top. Let's say it gets up to the top. What do you think will happen with that air fuel mixture? It's 200 psi. Remember that. And these are low tension piston rings, right? Low tension piston rings because it's required for high efficiency, right? All the new GDI engines have low tension piston rings. So where do you think this stuff is going, right? You have the valves up here, 4 valves, right? So it's closed. It's all closed, compressed, and there's 200 psi in a hot engine compressed in there. Where does it go, right? Is it possible that is leaking into here? Then you get your oil dilution, right? If your valves are not seated properly, or it's so much pressure that it damages the valve seats because there's so much pressure, right? Then it will go out of those 4 valves. It will damage the valves and get carbon deposits, further carbon deposits on these GDI engines, right? Is it damaging the spark plug, right? It's compressed so high, right? And is it damaging the piston rings, right? Causing further carbon deposits on it, and damaging also the oil ring too as well, if things are forced down this way, right? There's a lot to think about, right? And that's why auto stop start should have never been put in these engines. I know why they did that, to appease the movement towards highest efficiency possible, and the proliferation of the new electric cars and hybrids, and pushing all the manufacturers that it's like Honda, that have not really fully vested into electric yet, to move these ICE vehicle engines to highest efficiency possible. And that auto stop start thing was one of them, right? But when they implemented this, at the cost of what? Oil dilution, the cost of your starter motor, the cost of your battery. Imagine if you have to start and stop 50 times. How hard is it on the battery just to turn over your engine, right? Constantly, every day, right? It's crazy. But yeah, I'm gonna go through this in a little bit more in depth. Hopefully you guys tune in for that one. But this is a longer video than I anticipated. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, and like and subscribe, and that way I can do more of these type of videos and share my thoughts. Yeah, thank you.